What is up YouTube, Gabby Moda here with I finally updated this Tiny Orcust. Maybe I have it just right. I had an idea of using the Ray Raptor engine so I can just summon Beatrice and combo off, but it is not consistent getting those 3 monsters for the combo without locking yourself into dark, meaning I couldn't use the rocket engine reliably, and it will just end up being a worse Lunalight Orcust, so I don't want to bother. So if you're interested into like using a Ray Raptor line, I suggest just play Lunalights. But this right here, this is interesting, and I almost feel dumb for not realizing, but I think Dark Grapher and Armageddon Knight are pretty amazing for this to work. It's almost similar to the one I would play like in TCG with its ban list, as Grapher and Armageddon Knight pretty much just offsets the missing copies of Dingirsu. So with that, I just have replays and explain what I did and basically just how the deck will function. Now for the ratios, first we see that we have an Orcust Bombard, just a one-of because he's the one that summons from the hand. He's more of a failsafe card. You see a Scrap Recycler, but that's like my 3rd missing copy of Dark Grapher, so ignore that. Played 3 Ash because I hate Maxi. We play 2 Skeletons, the one that will summon our Orcust from the graveyard, Armageddon Knight and Dark Graphers, allowing us to start off our Orcust combos, and they have great synergy because they are indeed level 4, which is better than Scrap Recycler. The Harpour, which is limited, that summons from deck. We have 3 copies of Time Thief Winder to search our Time Thief cards. A Bezel Chip for great graveyard extension. Regulator to get 2 free bodies on the field. Could either be used just to make Redoer, or Board Blocker to start with the Orcust line. And it also, just by itself, also sets up have Bezel Chip and Chronocoder in the grave for some great plays. We have a Chronocoder, we have 1 Dingirsu, the Mech Knight, the Orcust Mech Knight. We have 3 Strangolanias. It's amazing what you can do with this card in this variant at 3. 2 Adjusters, we don't need a 3rd one. 2 Orcust Nightmare, it's pretty good. She's the one that Foolish Burials. We have 2 Wands, which is the one that summons back Banished Orcust. Foolish Burial because it's just full Orcust combo on its own, so why not play it? I think you should play it if you're playing Orcust. Reinforcement of the armies for our Armageddon Knights and Dark Greffers. 2 Orchestrated Return, our hard ones per turn draw spell. The important field spell, Orcust Battle. We have 2 Call by the Graves, 2 Time Thief Flybacks, 1 Orchestrated Crescendo, and 1 Time Thief Retrograde for our counter traps. Our extra deck only really has just 1 Redoer because Perpetua could just summon it back, so that's why we play 2 Perpetua. Perpetua is actually really good at giving Dingirsu materials. We have Raider's Knight and Arc Rebellion for that OTK line. We have 1 Dingirsu, but I would play a 2nd one for the simple fact that I just can go into it by just reviving Galatea. The 1 Link Kuribo, that's mandatory for Girsu to be able to fully combo off with the token, because Galatea needs effect monsters. The 1 Galatea, unfortunately, is limited. IEP Masquerena, Board Blocker, Nightmare Unicorn, Long Girsu, and Access to Attacker. Now here we have a very great hand. With Dark Grepher, we can send the Harpour from our hand right now, and we can just send a Time Thief card to the graveyard as well, but instead we're just gonna send Skeleton. So we're gonna summon Nightmare from our deck to make Galatea. The Nightmare can just resummon herself by sending a wand to the grave. But before that, we're gonna use Galatea's effect to return the Harpour to set our Babel, and then we're gonna do the Nightmare Wand line following up next. Keep in mind, Nightmare needs a monster on the field for the effect to even happen, because it boosts the attack, that's how it works. Then we're gonna make Dingirsu, and Dingirsu has the effect to, on summon, either send a card opponent controls the graveyard, or attach a dark machine that is banished, which that actually includes the Time Thief monsters that are machines. We're gonna extend with Winder, just to get something off, and then we're gonna go into IP Masquerena. And then we're just gonna summon back Galatea because we can. That way we have a search live without needing to choose between reviving Galatea or Dingirsu. And then with the Strangle enemies in our hand, we can just make a Redoer to make the Retrograde alive. And this is a pretty amazing board. Unfortunately, our opponent doesn't actually do much. We still a Rivalry of the Warlord. Rivalry. I forgot the card's name, but Rivalry, yeah. But immediately goes into this is just a stall deck. So we're gonna still hold up the standby phase. Just Foolish with Nightmare, set a Skeleton, and we just got a test effect for a Crescendo next turn. Obviously, I don't need to bother negating that because it summons it in defense. I can save all my negates for next turn for everything else he says. So we're gonna summon back Dingirsu before the next turn, and we're gonna use this effect to actually just attach a material for protection. Also, having Skeleton back in line that we just banished. Orchestrated return in our draw phase is pretty nice. We're gonna extend with Winder. And he's going to activate Conquistador, which doesn't matter because Dingirsu can just let one of his Exceed materials take the destruction of anything on the field. So, and that's why I also summon Dingirsu, knowing that Conquistador won't really do anything if I do that. Then we have World Legacy 1, bring back Nightmare, which I simply just want to draw cards. And he activates Imperial Order, and because it's a continuous trap, we can simply just use Redoer's effect because he luckily has a trap as material. We could just send it to the top of the deck and it won't apply its effect. Unfortunately, our opponent will concede. That is amazing. This next duel actually let us use Regulator and still do the Orcust line because we're gonna do something even interesting. We're gonna summon Vessel Chip and Chronocoder just to have them in the graveyard, and we're just gonna link into Barricade Board Blocker. Barricade Board Blocker just detaches for cost for in the end phase if there's a continuous spell or field spell. Or I think it's just continuous spell. In the graveyard, just put it back in your hand, though that doesn't matter, we just want to discard. We're gonna set Nightmare's gonna send Harpour, Harpour's gonna summon Orcust, Mech Knight, and we're gonna summon back Nightmare, and we're gonna make Galatea. Galatea will shuffle back the Harp, set our Babel like we did before, and then we're gonna Exceed Summon into Dingirsu, and this is where the Time Thief card really comes in handy in the Orcust line. We have Vessel Chip in the grave, and Chronocoder, along with a Winder in the hand. And we already have Retrograde in our hand, so we can just search Adjuster. And with that, with Vessel Chip summoning itself, that would trigger Adjuster to summon herself from the hand. And we still have more monsters in the graveyard to summon, so we're just gonna make Time Thief Redoer our one and only Time Thief Redoer, that is a Royal Rare, Flex. We're gonna use this effect to banish itself, that way we trigger Chronocoder, and that way we can also make Time Thief Perpetua. We have full Orcust setup and full Time Thief setup, and a normal summon with Regulator. That was amazing. So we're gonna make that IP Masquerena, and now we have our IP Masquerena with a lot of Orcust stuffs in the grave live with Babel, and then a Perpetua and a Redoer with a Trap and Retrograde. This looks really good. So our opponent is I don't know what deck he's on. I haven't bothered looking. Probably some Tri-Brigade thing that for some reason was playing Ojama. We still in Ojama Blue. That's the I was so confused when I saw Ojama Blue. I'm like, okay. We're gonna use Winder just to a free body and just search Adjuster just to have a free card. Since he summoned Rescue Cat, I know that these are one of those very easy to choke normal summons, so yeah, he just easily concedes that way. Now this replay is gonna be sped up because you already get it, you saw all the Orcust line. It's gonna be mostly the same thing. This time we can use Redoer and to banish itself, that way the Refer send Harp in the graveyard, and that way we can summon Girsu within an empty field, and that way he can get the token off, which is actually pretty neat. We still have Winder in the hand, interestingly enough, but I actually misplayed very badly in the end here. But I guess this replay still shows that we can actually come back with a nearly broken board. By nearly, I mean like they just left the field spell on, and you'll see why it's important to deal with the field spell. Not that it matters, because if they destroy it, we can just discard any card in our hand and get it back. Meaning that, yeah, Orcust is annoying. You have to like banish the field spell. And here I had toggle off, so I didn't get to summon a gesture, so yeah, no IP and no Girsu in the graveyard. But at least we have Girsu protection. I have no idea why the heck he called by the Grave Winder. That's like the most useless call by the grave of anything he could have called by. But I guess he just didn't want it. I just activated his neurons, I guess. He was playing Black Wings, and in retrospect, I should have bounced the normal summon because I forgot. I kinda almost forgot that the way Black Wings work is that in order to play, they need a Blackwing monster on the field, because all of the effects are like self-special summons. So yeah. And I did not realize that this guy is a tower, this guy's unaffected and is kind of big. So that's a bit of an issue. Luckily our deck has ways around it. Now our deck does have an access code talker, but I suggest, I mean, you can still play it, but I think I suggest Boral Sword much more. Like, it can still become bigger, but at the same time, you only play Dark, so you really only get one pop with access code. But it's still nice. We do have our fair number of Link 3s that couldn't really be fully utilized if we have Boral Sword. So with that, we can just IP Masquerena, summon back our... yeah. We can summon back our Galatea, set a Crescendo for next turn, and we're gonna use Long Girsu to get back our Beam Girsu. And yeah, I'm gonna shuffle 2 Dark Machines because we have a lot of them banished. Then we're just gonna normal summon. Any normal summon would have done. It could have been Ash as well. We're gonna use it to make access code. Access codes will destroy the token because it's like the one thing that you know, he won't take damage if we try to beat over. We just want him to have an empty field. And because we still have Nightmare's effects, I'm gonna use it just to have a skeleton in rotation. So we're just gonna beat over that big unaffected monster, get rid of the token, and we're just gonna, in the draw phase, bring back Dean Girsu with a material, not even use it as interruption. I think the counter tap is enough and protection from Dean Girsu. We came back from that pretty much broken board, and yeah, there we go. And in here we see the similar line again, but this time we use Harpor and Strangolanius to start off. Because of Strangolanius, we were allowed to put Harpor in the graveyard and have an empty field for Girsu to do the full combo on its own. And because we have Flyback in our hand, that Redoer is not just an empty monster shell, and it has interruptions now with the trap, so we're just gonna continue the line and just enjoy. This is probably the weakest of the duel because it's straight up Dark Magician. I swear Dark Magician player always has this field. Like, I can understand the companion, but they always play this field. Interesting. We're gonna summon IP Masquerena. And that's pretty much it. It's just IP Redoer. Standby phase. We're gonna use Nightmare in the standby to check for ashes. There's no ash. We're gonna ash our lore because we don't really want him drawing. He's gonna questionably search Illusion Magic. I guess he just wanted 2 cards in the graveyard to banish, although he already had to. He's just gonna activate the field spell to set. Yeah, he was gonna set Eternal Soul from the deck. We're not allowing him to set that. Might as well use this right now. But then he's just gonna set 2, so in the end phase, we can just summon Galatea and Galatea's effect. We'll set a Crescendo for next turn, so we have a counter trap live as we do more plays next turn. And he'll simply concede. So yeah, that was pretty much Time Thief Orcust, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys like the deck list and it would work for you. It works for me, fine. Could use fine tuning. See you guys in the next one.